She thought she was texting her best friend for help at 2 a.m. But the number she dialed, it belonged to the most dangerous creature in the entire city. A creature who doesn't forgive and never ignores a cry for help. This is the story of how one wrong number, one desperate message sent in fear, pulled a violent ancient king out of the shadows and changed a human girl's life forever. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from right now? I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Ariella pressed her back against her apartment wall and squeezed her eyes shut. The hallway outside was alive again. Whispers, footsteps, the soft scrape of someone dragging something along the floor. It was past 2 a.m., the worst hour in her building. Nothing good ever happened here when the world was asleep. Her hands shook as she held her phone. "Please, not tonight," she whispered to no one. She grabbed her pillow for comfort, but it didn't help. A heavy thud hit the hallway wall. Then another. Her heart jumped into her throat. Someone laughed. Man. Deep and slurred. Ariella swallowed the rising panic. She knew she shouldn't text anyone at this hour, but she needed help. She opened her messages and typed fast before she could talk herself out of it. "I'm scared. They're back in the hallway again. Please pick up." Her thumb hovered over send. She didn't want to bother her best friend again. But fear pushed her forward. Send. The message left her phone. She held onto her grandmother's old blanket, praying Riley wouldn't be too upset at being woken up. But instead of the usual typing dots, instead of the familiar heart emoji Riley always added, her phone vibrated violently with a reply. "Unknown number. Send your location. Now." Ariella froze. "What?" she whispered. That wasn't Riley. The voice in that text, just a few words, felt cold, commanding. Not playful. Not gentle. Not someone she'd ever met. She checked the number again. 2 digits were wrong. Her stomach flipped. Oh no. No, wrong person. Her fingers flew. "Ariella. I'm sorry. Wrong number. Please ignore that." Immediately, the dots appeared again. Whoever it was, they were still there. Still watching the text. Still responding. "Unknown. I asked you a question." Her breath hitched. That didn't feel like a random person. Felt like someone expecting obedience. Someone who wasn't used to being ignored. Ariella rubbed her forehead as footsteps outside her door grew louder. He typed again. "Ariella. I didn't mean to message you. I'm fine. Please forget it." "Unknown. You're not fine. Where are you?" How would he know that? She whispered to herself. Another thump. This time right outside her door. Ariella held her breath. "Ariella. Please. Just drop it." "Unknown. Tell me where you are, Ariella." She froze. She had never told him her name. Her pulse pounded in her ears. Her throat tightened. How do you know who I am?" The stranger didn't bother to answer her question. "Unknown. Address." Now. Terror battled with instinct. The stranger felt dangerous, but the men outside were definitely dangerous. She didn't have many options. Shaking, she typed. "Ariella. Riverside Apartments on 8th Street. 2 seconds later. Unknown. Stay away from the door. Don't speak. Don't make noise. I'm on my way." Ariella blinked. On his way. What does that mean? She didn't have time to think. Crunch. The apartment door shook violently. Ariella clamped a hand over her mouth. The wood splintered slightly. Someone whispered directly outside. "She's alone." "I told you." Another man chuckled. "Let's say hello." The doorknob rattled, then twisted. Ariella's entire body trembled. Please leave me alone," she whispered into the darkness. The door slammed once. 3 times. The frame cracked. Ariella's phone buzzed. "Unknown. How many?" Her fingers fumbled over the screen. "Ariella. 2. They're trying to break in." "Unknown. I'm 6 minutes away. Don't make a sound." Ariella pressed herself into the furthest corner of the room. The men outside started talking again. Try harder. She's small. The door won't hold. Another kick. The frame groaned. Ariella shakily unlocked her phone again and held it to her ear. She dialed 911, even though she knew they never came to her building fast. Please answer, please. The door slammed again, harder. Then suddenly, silence. A heavy silence that felt unnatural. A different voice filled the hallway, calm and deadly. Back away from the door. Everything stopped. One of the intruders snarled. Who the hell are you? The stranger's voice dropped into something colder. Your last warning. Ariella heard fear. Real fear. The kind she had lived with for months. Footsteps stumbled. A man cursed. Something heavy hit the wall. Then hurried retreating steps. Running. Down the hall. Far away. Silence returned. Knock. Until. Ariella. The voice was smooth, deep, and impossibly controlled. It's safe now. You can open the door. Her whole body trembled. She shouldn't open it. She didn't know who he was. He could be worse. But he saved her. Step by step, heart pounding, Ariella approached the door and unlocked it. Slowly, she pulled it open and came face to face with the most striking man she had ever seen. Tall, ridiculously tall, dressed in dark clothing that looked expensive. His hair was black, swept back neatly. His skin pale and smooth as moonlight. His eyes, silver, not gray, silver, like metal catching light. He didn't smile, but his gaze softened slightly as if relieved. You're safe now, he said. Come with me. Ariella's voice shook. I don't even know your name. Kale, he answered quietly. And you shouldn't stay here another minute. Before she could respond, he reached out and gently touched the split door frame. They would have broken through. Ariella swallowed. Hard. Fear. Relief. Confusion. Gratefulness. Everything collided in her chest. Why did you come? She whispered. His silver eyes met hers. Because you texted me. Ariella grabbed only the essentials, her bag, her charger, her grandmother's blanket. She double-checked that the apartment door was locked behind her, even though the frame was cracked open. Kale waited in the hallway like a silent wall. Protective. Motionless. Almost unnatural. He spoke softly when she approached. Give me your bag. It's fine, I can carry it, she said. You're shaking. He extended his hand. Let me. His voice wasn't a request. It wasn't rude either. Just certain. Ariella slowly handed over her bag. He slung it over his shoulder effortlessly, then gestured for her to follow. As they walked down the dim hallway, Ariella tried to steady her breathing. Who were those men? She whispered. People who take advantage of buildings without security, Kale replied. And people who thought no one would come for you. His tone darkened for a moment, enough to give her chills. They reached the entrance. A sleek black car, a model Ariella had only seen online, was waiting at the curb. Kale opened the passenger door. Get in. Ariella hesitated. I don't know you. You could be dangerous. Kale tilted his head slightly, studying her like she was saying something interesting. I am dangerous, he said calmly. But not to you. Her breath caught. Why? For the first time, something almost like a smile touched his lips. Small, careful, almost human. Because you called for help. She climbed in. Inside, the car felt like stepping into another world. Smooth leather seats, warm lighting, quiet classical music. Kale closed the door gently and walked around to the driver's side. When he entered, the car seemed smaller, the air thicker. He didn't look at her right away. He stared out the windshield, jaw tight. She could tell he was thinking something heavy, something controlled. Finally he spoke. Ariella. Yes. How long have you been living like this? She swallowed. A few months. Why didn't you leave? He asked quietly. She looked down at her hands. I couldn't afford anywhere else. Kale started the car, his movements too fluid, too smooth. That's going to change, he said simply. Ariella blinked. What does that mean? It means you won't live there again. Not while I'm breathing. That should have scared her. But instead warmth spread through her chest. She whispered, "Why are you doing this?" Cale didn't look at her. He drove through the silent streets with effortless control. "Because someone should have helped you before," he said. "And they didn't." Ariella's throat tightened. The city lights blurred past. She stared at his profile. Sharp jawline, straight nose, eyes that seemed to glow faintly even in the dark. "Who are you really?" she asked softly. Cale's expression didn't change. "You'll know soon." Not an answer, but an honest one. They crossed into the wealthier part of the city. Ariella had only seen these buildings in magazines. She pressed her forehead lightly against the window, overwhelmed. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "Somewhere safe." They entered an underground parking garage. Everything was spotless and quiet. Cale parked in a space marked with a nameplate. K. Draven. She stepped out slowly, hugging her blanket. Cale stood beside her, watching. His eyes were softer now, almost gentle. "This way," he said. They walked into a private elevator. Cale slid a keycard across a panel. Beeped softly. Ariella watched as the floor numbers climbed. 24, 39, 30. The doors opened directly into an enormous space filled with soft lighting, dark furniture, and floor-to-ceiling windows showing the entire glowing city. Ariella stopped walking. "This is your place." "Yes." She stared in disbelief. "It doesn't look lived in." His voice lowered. "I don't live the way you do." She turned to him. "What does that mean?" Cale stepped closer, slowly, giving her time to back away, but she didn't. The city lights reflected in his silver eyes. "It means you're going to have questions," he said. "And I'll answer them." She whispered. "Why did you come for me? You don't know me." Cale's gaze held hers with something too intense to be human. "You said you were scared," he said simply. That was enough. Ariella felt something in her chest unravel. Cale gestured toward a soft couch. "Sit. You're safe here." He sat slowly. He walked to the kitchen area, barely lit, and began preparing something with smooth, precise movements. Ariella watched him. "You cook." "I can," he replied. "For me." "Yes." "Why?" He turned then, leaning slightly on the counter, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You asked for help," he said again. "And I don't ignore people in need. But we're strangers." "Not anymore." He shivered. He returned with a warm plate and set it gently in front of her. Real food. Not instant noodles. Not cheap snacks. Actual food. She took a hesitant bite. Cale studied her reaction like every small detail mattered. "Better?" he asked quietly. She nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Cale sat across from her, elbows resting on his knees. "You don't have to fear anything tonight," he said. "Not while I'm here." Ariella held his stare. "Who are you?" she whispered. Cale's answer was soft, almost sad, almost dangerous. "The one thing you should have feared tonight," he said. "But didn't." Her heart paused. "And tomorrow," Cale added gently, "I'll explain everything." Ariella stood frozen at the threshold of Cale's penthouse. She felt small, like she had stepped into another world, a world that didn't belong to her. The air smelled clean, expensive, like polished wood and something faintly metallic she couldn't name. The floor lamps glowed softly, casting warm pools of light across dark furniture she was scared to touch. "This is unreal," she whispered. Cale stepped inside behind her, moving with a grace that was almost eerie. "It's just a place to sleep," he said calmly. Ariella turned to him with disbelief. "This looks like a magazine home, like something a billionaire owns." Cale's expression didn't change. "You're safe here. That's all that matters." If she hadn't heard that word in so long that it almost hurt. Cale walked forward and placed her bag gently on a low table. Then he stood still for a moment, watching her eyes scan the wide living area, the massive windows, the view of the city looking like glitter. "You're shaking," he said softly. Ariella hugged the blanket around her shoulders. "I'm just overwhelmed. This is nothing like my life." His voice lowered. "Your life changes tonight." She looked at him sharply, unsure how to take that. Cale stepped into the kitchen, if it could even be called that. The counters were dark stone, smooth as glass. Everything looked untouched. He opened cabinets silently and took out ingredients she didn't recognize. "You don't have to cook for me," Ariella said. Cale didn't look up. "I want to. But you didn't even ask what I like." "I already know enough," he replied. His tone wasn't arrogant, just matter-of-fact, like a person stating the time of day. Ariella frowned. "And what do you think I like?" He sliced vegetables with impossible precision. "You like warm food after long nights. Nothing too heavy. Nothing too greasy. You avoid spicy food because it upsets your stomach. You prefer soft textures when you're anxious." Ariella's mouth fell open. How do you know that?" Cale paused, knife in hand, and finally looked at her. "I pay attention." Ariella's pulse jumped. The more she watched him move, the more she noticed the details. He moved too quietly. His skin seemed to glow faintly under the dim lights. His eyes shifted shades depending on the light. He never once seemed out of breath. She finally sat at the counter, hands wrapped around her blanket. Cale placed a plate in front of her. "Eat." It smelled incredible, warm, savory, comforting. Ariella hadn't eaten anything this good in months. She took a bite. A soft sound escaped her, a quiet, involuntary moan. "Oh my God!" Cale's lips twitched just barely. "Good. It's amazing," she said, unable to stop eating. "I didn't realize how hungry I was." "I did," he said simply. Ariella stared at him. "Why do you talk like that? Like you already knew me before tonight." Cale didn't answer immediately. He rinsed the knife with slow, thoughtful movements. "Because you feel familiar," he said. "In a way I haven't felt in a long time." Ariella blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means," Cale said gently, "that some people come into your life at the exact moment they're meant to." Her heart thumped hard in her chest. She didn't know whether it was fear or something else. "Cale," she whispered. "What are you trying to say?" He didn't turn around. He didn't have to. "Sit," he said quietly. "There are things I want to explain. But you need rest first." Ariella pushed her empty plate aside. "No, I'm awake now. Tell me." Cale finally faced her. His eyes looked darker now, almost black around the edges, glowing faintly in the middle. He stepped closer. "You're exhausted. You've been living in fear for too long. You need calm. Then we talk." He led her to a guest bedroom that looked bigger than her entire apartment. Fresh sheets, a king-sized bed, and a soft golden lamp shaded the room in warmth. Cale paused in the doorway. "The door locks from the inside," he said. "If you want privacy, use it." Ariella ran her fingers over the smooth comforter. "This feels like a dream." Cale leaned one shoulder against the doorframe. "Dreams don't protect you." "I do." Her breath caught. She wasn't sure if she should be terrified or grateful or both. "Good night, Ariella." His voice was deep, low, final. "Good night," she whispered. And for the first time in months, Ariella slept without fear. Ariella woke up to warm sunlight filling the room. The sheets smelled like lavender. She felt rested, confused. She glanced at the digital clock. 9:26 a.m. "Oh no, work," she gasped. She scrambled out of bed, searching for her phone. When she found it, a note lay on top of it, written in elegant handwriting. "I informed your workplace you have severe food poisoning. They've excused your shift. Cale." Ariella blinked. "He called my job." She hurried into the living room, still wearing her borrowed robe. Cale sat in an armchair, his posture straight, still, elegant, as if carved from marble. He looked up when she entered. "You're awake." Ariella crossed her arms tightly. "You called my work. How did you even know where I work?" Kale gestured to her backpack. "Your uniform shirt was folded inside." She stared at him. "You just figured it out?" "I needed to make sure you rested today. But I could have lost my job." "You didn't," Kale said calmly. "You're welcome," Ariella faltered. The way he talked sometimes. It sounded like he was used to controlling situations effortlessly. Like chaos bent around him. She took a breath. "Thank you. But you need to explain what's going on. Why are you doing all this? Who are you?" Kale stood slowly, his eyes steady on hers. "I told you I would answer your questions. And I will. Sit." She sat cautiously on the couch. Kale remained standing for a moment, as if deciding where to begin. "I'll start with last night," he said. "The men in your hallway." Ariella's skin prickled. "How did you get there so fast?" Kale walked toward the window, hands clasped behind his back. "I'm faster than you think." "That's not an answer," she whispered. "No," he agreed softly. "It isn't." He turned. His eyes weren't silver now. They were darker, swirling like storm clouds. "Ariella, what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible. But you've already seen enough to know something is different." She swallowed hard. "Different how?" Kale sat opposite her, leaning forward slightly. "I'm not human." The room suddenly felt smaller. Ariella's fingers curled into the blanket she held. "What do you mean, not human?" Kale let the silence stretch, watching her reaction carefully. "I mean exactly what it sounds like," he said. "I am something older. Something hidden. Something most humans forgot existed." Ariella tried to steady her breath. "You're scaring me." "I don't wish to," he said quietly. "Then say it clearly, Kale." His eyes glowed faintly, silver bleeding through the dark. "I'm a Vesperian." "A what?" "A race humans once called many names. Monster, demon, vampire." His voice softened. "Vampire comes closest." Ariella's chest tightened. "No. Vampires aren't real." Kale tilted his head. "I moved across the city in minutes. I heard your text. I sensed your fear. I made 2 grown men flee with only my voice. And you think I'm human?" She wanted to deny it, fight it, laugh at it. But memory after memory flashed through her mind. His speed, his strange eyes, his cold calm, his quiet footsteps, his strength. Her voice came out barely audible. "You're serious?" "Completely." Ariella stared at him, dizzy. "Then what do you want from me?" Kale's face softened in a way she didn't expect, like the question hurt him. "Nothing," he said. "I want nothing from you." "That can't be true." "It is." He sat back, shoulders loosening. "You reached my private line. A number only the people under my protection have." Ariella frowned. "But I texted it by accident." Kale gave a small, thoughtful nod. "Perhaps. Or perhaps it wasn't an accident." A spark of fear and curiosity twisted in her stomach. "What does that mean?" "Some connections," Kale said quietly, "happen exactly when they're meant to." Ariella sank deeper into the couch. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why would someone like you help someone like me?" Kale looked at her in a way that made her heart squeeze. Not lust, not hunger. Something deeper. Something unfamiliar. "Because you deserved help," he said. "Because you asked. And because it's been a long time since anyone asked me for anything but fear." Her breath caught. Kale seemed to realize he'd said too much. He stood abruptly and walked to the kitchen. "You must be hungry." But Ariella didn't move. Her voice shook as she spoke again. "Kale, are you dangerous?" He paused. "Yes," he said softly. "Very." She swallowed. "But not to me." His eyes met hers, glowing faintly. "Never to you." Ariella didn't know what to believe. Her fear was real, but so was the strange safety she felt around him. Kale placed a plate of food on the counter. "We'll talk more," he said gently. "But for now, rest. You're safe, and I intend to keep it that way." Ariella looked at him, really looked at him, and whispered, "Why do you care?" Kale's expression shifted, just a flicker, but enough. "Because," he said quietly, "you're the first person in a very, very long time who reached for me." Ariella felt her breath catch. Kale stepped back, giving her space. His voice low and controlled. "And that," he said, "is something I do not ignore." Ariella didn't think life could change so fast. But living with Kale was like stepping into a world that was always awake, always alert, and always dangerous in ways she only understood a little at a time. Days passed quietly at first. Kale made sure she lacked nothing. Her old apartment was cleared out, her belongings cleaned and arranged neatly in a comfortable guest room. She had clothes, food, warmth, and peace, things she barely dared hope for before. But underneath the calmness, she felt it. A storm was gathering. At night, Kale often stood by the giant windows, staring into the city with an expression she couldn't read. Sometimes he looked angry. Sometimes he looked ancient. One evening, Ariella approached him. "You're thinking again," she said softly. Kale didn't turn. "I'm always thinking." She stepped beside him, watching the city lights. "Is it about what you told me? About being Vesperian?" "Yes," he said simply. Ariella hesitated. "You worry I'm scared of you." Kale finally turned toward her. His eyes were shimmering silver under the moonlight. "Are you?" he asked. Ariella swallowed. "I'm scared of what could hurt me. I'm scared of the world I lived in before. I'm scared of being helpless." Her voice softened. "But you?" "No." Kale studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded once, slow and careful. "That's good," he said. "Because there's something else you need to know." Ariella felt her heartbeat spike. "What is it?" Kale moved closer, lowering his voice. "Last night, someone was watching the building." Kale moved closer, lowering his voice. "Last night, someone was watching the building." "Watching? Who?" "Not human," Kale said. "Not one of mine." Ariella's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means," Kale answered quietly, "word has spread." "About me," she whispered. "No," his jaw tightened. "About us. About the fact that I brought a human here." Ariella's breath caught. "Is that bad?" Kale stared at the night sky as if searching for patience. "Among my kind, showing interest in someone makes them a target." "But you said you didn't." Kale's eyes snapped back to hers, sharper than glass. "I said I wanted nothing from you. That doesn't mean I feel nothing for you." Ariella froze. The room felt too quiet. Kale exhaled slowly. "You became visible the moment you entered my world. Enemies look for leverage." "Weakness," Ariella whispered. "Am I a weakness?" Kale turned fully toward her, voice low and serious. "You are not a weakness. But they will try to use you as one." Before Ariella could speak, a loud noise echoed from the hallway. Heavy thud. Then another. Kale's expression changed instantly. His eyes darkened. His posture leaned forward like a predator ready to strike. "Stay here," he said, voice suddenly sharp. "What's happening?" Ariella froze. Kale didn't answer. He moved toward the door, fast and silent. He opened it. And then Ariella heard voices. Male voices. Cold. Mocking. "Well, well," one sneered. "The mighty Kale finally breaks his own rules. A human. Really?" Ariella's chest tightened. Her breath caught in her throat. She crept closer to listen. Kale's voice dropped to a deadly calm. "Leave." The intruder laughed. "You think you can hide her? The city is talking already." Another voice joined in, smooth and almost bored. "Bring her out. Let's see what kind of toy you've taken in." Ariella's blood turned to ice. Kale growled, a deep, vibrating sound she felt in her bones. "Touch her, and I will kill you." For a moment silence. Then a sharp sound. Kale slamming someone into the wall so hard the whole penthouse shook. Ariella gasped. Then everything happened fast. A second intruder rushed in. Kale moved like lightning, too fast for her eyes to follow. A blur of motion. Crash. A hiss that didn't sound human. Scream. Ariella covered her mouth. Seconds later, Kale appeared in the doorway again, chest rising steadily, not even out of breath. "They won't bother you again," he said simply. Ariella stared at him, shaking. "Kale, are they dead?" "No," he answered. "Not yet." Her stomach twisted. She wasn't sure whether she feared him or wanted to cling to him. "Why are they after me?" she whispered. Kale walked toward her slowly, gently. "Because you matter to me," he said quietly. "And that makes you a target." He reached out, brushing her cheek with a touch so soft she almost didn't feel it. "I won't let them have you," he said. "Not now. Not ever." Ariella closed her eyes, overwhelmed. Kale pulled away. "I need to increase your protection." "Protection?" she asked. "Yes." Kale's voice hardened. "Starting tonight, I'm assigning you a guard. And we will begin training." "Training for what?" "For the fact that you now live in a world that wants you dead." 2 nights later, everything came crashing down. Ariella had just finished showering when the power went out suddenly. The lights died. The hum of the penthouse vanished. Total silence. "Kale," she called. No response. Her heart began thumping painfully. She stepped into the hallway cautiously. The air felt different, thicker, heavy. When she reached the living room, a tall man stood inside the penthouse. He wasn't Kale. He had pale skin, slicked dark hair, and sharp blue eyes that glowed unnaturally. His smile was icy and cruel. "Hello, little human," he said softly. "I've been waiting." Ariella backed up instantly. Who are you?" He bowed mockingly. "Mailer. The one they warn you about." "Are you a Vesperian too?" she whispered. "Oh yes." He stepped forward slowly. "And unlike Kale, I'm not pretending to care about you." Before she could scream, he vanished. Appeared behind her. Cold fingers closed around her neck. Kale burst into the room at that exact moment. Eyes blazing silver. Face twisted in a fury Ariella had never seen. "Let her go." Mailer smirked. "You came." He lifted Ariella off the ground with inhuman strength. He choked for air. "Kale," she wheezed. Kale moved forward. Mailer tightened his grip. "One more step," Mailer whispered, "and she dies." Ariella saw something terrifying in Kale's eyes then. He wasn't calm. He wasn't cold. He was terrified. Kale raised both hands slowly. "Let her go," he growled. "She has nothing to do with this." "Oh, but she does," Mailer purred. "You made her matter." Ariella gasped, vision fading. Then Kale moved. Faster than sight. Faster than thought. A blur of silver. Crack of air. Sound like ripping cloth. And Ariella fell. Straight into Kale's arms. He caught her, holding her tight, breathing hard. Mailer lay on the floor, unmoving, blood trailing from his shoulder. Kale snarled. "If you ever come near her again, I will tear you apart." Mailer hissed but crawled away, vanishing in a burst of speed. Kale held Ariella's face with trembling hands. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice shaking. Ariella could barely speak. "Kale," she whispered. "I don't want to be used like this. I don't want to be something enemies can touch." Kale closed his eyes. "I know. Then change me," she whispered desperately. "Make me like you." Kale froze. His voice broke. "Ariella, no." "Why not?" she cried. "I'll never be safe like this." Kale held her tightly. "Because turning you could kill you," he whispered. "And losing you would destroy me." Ariella's breath caught. Kale pressed his forehead to hers, voice trembling. "I'm begging you. Give it time. 1 year. Live with me. Learn. Grow stronger." His hand cupped her cheek. "And if, after 1 year, you still want eternity, I will give it to you." Ariella whispered, Promise. Kale's eyes glowed softly. I swear it. On my life. On my throne. On everything I am. She rested her forehead against his chest, gripping his shirt tightly. She didn't know whether she was safer now, or deeper in danger than ever before. But one thing was certain. There was no going back. The days after the attack were different. Heavier. Sharper. Kale stayed close to her at all times. Not hovering but watching, alert, always listening to something she couldn't hear. Ariella trained every morning with him. He taught her how to move quietly, how to sense danger, how to escape a grip, how to breathe under pressure. You're fast, he said once as she blocked his strike. I have a good teacher, she answered, panting. Kale smirked softly. Flattery is a distraction. So is the way you look at me, she shot back. Kale froze for exactly 1 second. She won that round. But the training wasn't just physical. Kale taught her about the Vesperian world. Its ancient rules, its betrayals, its power struggles. Why did you tell them I mattered? Ariella asked during one lesson. Kale didn't look at her as he sharpened a dagger. Because you do. But I'm human. That is irrelevant. She swallowed, heart pounding. You mean that? Kale lifted his eyes to hers. With everything in me. But the danger didn't vanish. Rival Vesperians continued watching them, trying to find openings, testing Kale's patience. One night, Ariella found him standing in the rain on the balcony, shirt soaked, hair dripping, looking like a carved statue of some fallen god. You're scaring me, she said softly. Kale didn't move. Good. You should be scared. Why? Because Mailer wasn't acting alone. Ariella's breath froze. Kale turned finally, silver eyes glowing in the dark. If they come again, they won't run. They'll try to kill you. And they will not stop. So change me, she whispered again. If I'm like you, they can't use me. Kale shook his head firmly. No. Why not? Because turning you would take everything from you. Your heartbeat, your warmth, your humanity. His jaw tightened. And it might take your life. But you promised you would after 1 year, she said quietly. I did, Kale whispered. Then keep your promise. Kale took her face in both hands, gentle but firm. I will, he said softly. But not a moment sooner. Ariella leaned into him, tears welling. I'm scared. Kale pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. I know, he whispered. But you're not alone. Not anymore. His voice shook just a little. You have me, he said. For as long as you want me. Ariella closed her eyes, gripping him tightly. That night something changed between them. They didn't kiss. They didn't cross any lines. But the closeness, the way Kale touched her face like she was breakable, the way he held her like she was the one thing keeping him alive. It was enough to shift the world. The training continued. Her strength grew. Her confidence returned. She started sleeping without nightmares. She started planning her future again. A future that involved Kale, whether she wanted to admit it or not. Every day she saw him differently. Not just the monster. Not just the protector. But a man who had lived too long, felt too much, and carried loneliness like a second skin. And she was becoming part of the reason his loneliness faded. Late one evening, Ariella whispered, Kale, do you think I made a mistake texting you that night? Kale brushed her hair behind her ear, his voice low. It was not a mistake, he said. It was fate. Fate, she echoed. Yes. He leaned closer, eyes glowing. Because you changed everything the moment you reached for me. Ariella's breath trembled. Then teach me, she said softly. Teach me how to survive. Teach me how to stand beside you. Teach me everything. Kale stared at her silently for a long time. Then he whispered, I will. And just like that, the next year of her life began. A year that would lead her to the edge of death. A year that would lead her to eternity. A year that would lead her to him. Forever. The next months moved like a quiet storm. Slow on the surface, powerful underneath. Ariella changed. Not overnight. Not dramatically. But steadily like water carving stone. Kale trained her every morning in the private gym. A wide room with dark floors, quiet lighting, and mirrors that seemed to watch her every move. It didn't matter that she was human and he wasn't. He trained her with a patience that almost didn't fit his dangerous nature. Again, Kale said calmly as Ariella threw a punch. She missed. Again. She hit the pad wrong and winced. Kale stepped closer, guiding her wrist gently. You twist your arm like this, he said softly. His fingers on her skin were cold but steady. You're strong, Ariella. You just don't know how to use it yet. He tried again. This time she hit the pad clean. Kale gave a small approving nod. Better. The praise made electricity run through her chest. Training wasn't just physical. Kale taught her how Vesperian senses worked. How they moved, saw, hunted. He taught her how to recognize their strengths and weaknesses. They're not gods, Kale said one afternoon as they sparred. They bleed. They fall. They can be caught off guard. Even killed. Ariella dodged a slow swipe from him. And humans. Kale caught her wrist gently. Humans endure. And that is its own power. She wasn't sure if he meant her in particular, but the softness in his eyes suggested he did. Outside of training, Ariella started reclaiming parts of her old self. She enrolled in online classes Kale insisted on paying for, picking subjects she'd always wanted to study but never had time or safety to pursue. She started reading at night. She cooked sometimes, even though Kale preferred to do it. She even laughed more, something she hadn't expected to find in a home ruled by a dangerous immortal. One evening, while she was studying on the couch, Kale entered the room silently. She didn't look up. She didn't have to. She felt him the same way one feels approaching thunder. Are you enjoying it? He asked, glancing at her laptop. She nodded. Your world is scary. But mine was small. It feels good to learn again. Kale sat beside her, not too close, but close enough that she felt the cold aura coming off his body. You are changing, he said. Is that bad? It's good. His eyes softened. You're becoming someone who looks forward instead of back. Ariella swallowed. I didn't have much to look forward to before. Kale's jaw tightened slightly, as if her past still angered him. You do now, he said. But not everything was peaceful. Kale grew more distant some days, locked in his study or leaving late at night without explanation. When he came back, he always smelled like cold wind and danger. One evening, Ariella found him leaning over a map spread across his desk, marking different parts of the city. What's going on? She asked. He didn't look up. Trouble. What kind of trouble? Kale tapped the map. Other Vesperian clans are moving. They're testing boundaries. Testing me. Because of me, she whispered. He looked up sharply. No. Because they were always waiting for a reason. Ariella's chest tightened. You make it sound like they want war. Kale's silence answered her. She stepped closer to him. Then let me help. Kale stood slowly. You are helping. By staying alive. That's not enough. Her voice trembled with determination. I don't want to be protected like a child. I want to stand with you. Kale stared at her. Stared so deeply she felt exposed. You will, he said finally. Just not yet. Ariella nodded. But she wasn't done changing. One night, Ariella found a woman sitting outside the building, shivering, bruised, scared. She looked like Ariella had looked months before. Ariella rushed to her. Are you hurt? The woman flinched. No, I'm fine. Ariella shook her head. You don't have to lie. Kale arrived a moment later, eyes narrowing as he scanned the scene. What happened? He asked Ariella. Someone hurt her, Ariella said firmly. We need to help. Kale's eyes softened just a fraction. He crouched beside the woman. You're safe now, he said gently. No one will touch you again. The woman broke down crying. Ariella realized something important at that moment. Kale's world was full of monsters. Her old world was full of them too. But maybe, just maybe, she could change both. That night, Kale gave the woman a safe place, medical care, and money to start over. Ariella watched everything quietly. Later, she approached Kale as he cleaned blood from his hands. "We could do more," she said softly. Kale paused. "More? For women like her?" Kale studied her carefully. "You want to protect them?" "Yes." Kale set the towel down slowly. "Then I will teach you how." That was the night Ariella began building something bigger than herself. A network of anonymous safe routes, hidden shelters, and quiet rescues using Kale's shadowed influence. She had found her purpose. And Kale had found another reason to fear losing her. Full year passed. A year of training. A year of growing stronger. A year of falling, slowly, quietly, deeply, into a connection she couldn't deny anymore. Kale didn't deny it either. Not with words. But with the way he watched her. The way he stood closer than necessary. The way he said her name like it meant something. And now the year was over. Ariella stood in Kale's room, looking at him with a calm she didn't feel. "Tonight," she said. "You promised." Kale didn't answer immediately. He closed the book in his hand, stood, and walked toward her with a kind of heaviness she had never seen before. "Ariella," he said gently, "once this is done, nothing will be the same. I know. You will lose your heartbeat. I know. You will never be human again. I understand." Kale cupped her face in his hands, brushing his thumb along her cheek as if memorizing every detail. "You could die," he whispered. Ariella's voice was soft but steady. "Or I could live forever." Kale's breath trembled. "And if I lose you?" he asked. "You won't," she said. "I trust you." Those words nearly broke him. He closed his eyes, forehead pressing against hers. "Then come," he whispered. Kale led her to a room she had never entered before, an old chamber filled with ancient symbols carved into the stone walls. The air was cold and heavy. Candles burned in a circle on the floor. A large dark bed sat in the center. "This is where Vesperians turn those we choose," Kale explained quietly. "It must be done with intention, with clarity, with meaning." Ariella stepped closer. "I'm ready." Kale stared at her for a long moment. Then he asked, very softly, "Do you want me, Ariella?" It wasn't a romantic question. It was a vow. Bond. Final confirmation. She held his eyes. "Yes." Kale exhaled shakily and pulled her into his arms. His lips brushed her neck, cold and soft. "This will hurt," he whispered. "I know. But I will be with you the whole time. I know." His voice darkened. "Say you trust me." "I trust you." Kale's breath hitched. Then his fangs slid into her skin. Ariella gasped, sharp pain shooting through her body, but she didn't pull away. Her hands gripped Kale's arms as he drank from her slowly, gently, as if terrified of hurting her. The room spun. Her heartbeat roared in her ears. Her vision blurred. When Kale finally pulled back, his lips were stained with her blood. "Ariella," he whispered. "Look at me." She tried. Her vision wavered. Kale bit into his own wrist and pressed the wound to her lips. "Drink," he said softly. "Take my life into yours." Ariella obeyed. The blood burned like fire, hot, ancient, overwhelming. She dropped to her knees, gripping Kale's arm as the fire spread through her veins. "Kale," she cried. "I'm here," he whispered, holding her tightly. "Stay with me." Her heart pounded. Harder, faster, louder, stronger. Then it stopped. Everything went silent. Ariella gasped one last time, and died. Kale caught her body before it hit the floor, holding her in his arms as tears, real tears, fell from his eyes. "Come back to me," he whispered. "Please, Ariella, come back." Minutes passed. Silence. Kale pressed his forehead to hers, voice breaking. "Don't leave me." Ariella inhaled sharply. Her eyes opened. And the world was different. Sharper. Brighter. Louder. Colder. Alive. Ariella sat up, gasping. Cale. Cale's expression filled with relief so powerful it almost overwhelmed her. You came back, he whispered. She looked around with her new senses. Every sound was clear, every scent vivid, every emotion heavy. What am I? Cale took her hands gently. You're Vesperian. You're one of us. You're mine. Ariella's heart, her new still heart, swelled. What happens now? Cale leaned closer, his forehead touching hers again. Now, he whispered, we begin eternity. Ariella's rebirth was not gentle. The world did not welcome her with open arms. It hit her all at once, sound, scent, light, emotion, all sharper than she imagined. The city below was a living heartbeat. Every whisper of wind carried meaning. Every shadow hid a story. Cale stayed by her side through every overwhelming second. You're sensing too much at once, Cale said gently, placing his hands on the sides of her face to steady her. Focus on me. Ariella closed her eyes. The chaos softened. Cale's voice grounded her. Good. Now breathe slow and deep. I don't breathe anymore, she whispered. His lips curved slightly. You do. Just differently. She inhaled, feeling the strange stillness of her new body. No heartbeat. No warmth. But strength, real strength, flowed through her. Cale, she whispered. I can hear everything. I know. It's loud. It will quiet soon. He didn't leave her side. Not that day. Not the next. For days he helped her adjust, teaching her to control her senses, her speed, her strength, teaching her to be more than the thing she feared she'd become. But Ariella didn't fear herself. She feared what was coming, because with her transformation came a shift in the Vesperian world. Word spread quickly that Cale, the feared ruler, had turned a human. Many saw it as weakness. Others saw it as a threat. A few saw it as an opportunity. Ariella felt the tension in the city like a pulse under her skin. Her purpose grows. Despite the danger, Ariella dove back into helping human women in danger. Her senses made it easier. She could hear cries blocks away, smell fear in the air, track down violent men faster than police. And Cale always backed her. One night, Ariella found a young woman crying in an alley, clutching her broken arm. Ariella crouched beside her. It's okay. You're safe now. The woman flinched. Please don't hurt me. Ariella softened her voice. I won't. I'm here to help. The woman looked up. Why? Ariella thought about her answer. Because once, she'd been the one crying in the dark. Because she'd texted a wrong number that saved her life. Because she refused to let other women suffer the way she had. Instead, she simply said, no one deserves to be alone in fear. Ariella helped her to the car Cale had sent. They took her to a hidden shelter, one Ariella had helped plan. A shelter protected by Vesperians loyal to Cale. When she returned home that night, Cale stood waiting in the doorway. You saved another one, he said softly. Ariella nodded. Cale stepped closer, his voice even lower. You're becoming a symbol. I don't want to be a symbol, she whispered. I just want to help. And that, Cale said gently, is exactly why you are becoming one. The attack at the safe house. 3 months after Ariella's transformation, it happened. The thing Cale had feared since the beginning. Night had barely settled over the city when Ariella felt it. A shift in the air. Wrongness. She glanced toward the window. Cale, something's wrong. Cale was already standing, eyes flashing silver. Where? Ariella closed her eyes and listened. Not with her ears but with her new senses. She heard a scream. Familiar scream. A scream she had heard from the woman she saved days earlier. Ariella's eyes snapped open. The safe house. Cale vanished, a blur of shadows and cold wind. Ariella followed. They reached the safe house in seconds. Smoke curled from the windows. The door hung broken. Inside, the air reeked of fear and blood. Ariella stepped in first. The women huddled in a corner, trembling. Who did this? She whispered. A guard pointed with a shaking hand. Vesperians. 3 of them. They. Before he finished, a mocking voice echoed from the hallway. Look who arrived. The king and his little pet. Ariella's jaw clenched. Come out. 3 figures stepped into view. Pale skin, sharp fangs, glowing eyes. One smirked. The little queen thinks she's strong now. Kale's voice was ice. Leave. Now. The leader laughed. She's the reason humans are becoming bold. She's the reason you're soft. She's the reason our kind doubts you. Kale stepped forward, rage simmering under his skin. Touch her, Kale said, and I'll burn your entire bloodline. Ariella's voice cut through the tension. You attacked helpless women. You're cowards. The leader snarled. You should have stayed human, girl. You were safer as prey. Something inside Ariella shifted. Broke. Changed. She stepped forward, eyes glowing with sharp violet fire. I'm not prey. Before anyone could blink, she moved. Fast. Too fast for the intruders to react. She slammed into the first attacker, knocking him into the wall so hard the plaster cracked. She spun, dodged a strike from the second, grabbed him by the throat, and threw him across the room. Kale stared, stunned. Ariella didn't stop. She faced the third, the leader, and said calmly, You want a queen. Here I am. The leader lunged. Ariella moved faster. They clashed, fangs, claws, speed. Chairs broke. Walls cracked. The floor shattered under the force. Ariella pinned him against the wall with her forearm pressed against his throat. You hurt innocent women, she hissed. You don't get to live. His eyes widened in terror. Kale appeared behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Ariella, he murmured, don't stain your first year with their blood. Her chest heaved. She looked at the terrified man she was holding. Slowly she stepped back. The man fell to the floor, gasping. Kale's voice grew darker. But if you return, she won't miss next time. The intruders fled, limping, broken, and terrified. The room was silent. The women stared at Ariella with wide, awed eyes. One whispered, Are you one of them now? Ariella knelt beside her gently. I am. But I'll never hurt you. Tears fell from the woman's eyes. Thank you. Ariella wrapped her arms around her tightly. You're safe. Kale watched her. Not with fear, not with concern, but with something deep and fierce. Pride. And something else. Something she wasn't ready to name. The council summons. 2 nights later, Kale received a summons. Ariella felt the tension before she heard the words. They want us, Kale said quietly. Both of us. Ariella straightened. Why? Because the old ways are changing, and you're the reason. Ariella tried to swallow the fear rising in her throat. What happens if they reject me? Kale's voice darkened. They won't. How do you know? Because if they try. Kale met her eyes, steady and unblinking. I will burn that council to ash. Ariella's breath caught. The council confrontation. The Vesperian council chamber stood deep underground, carved from ancient stone. Flames burned in large black bowls. Shadows moved like living things. Council members sat in a semicircle. Old, powerful, intimidating. The oldest one spoke. Kale. You broke tradition. Kale stood straight. Tradition broke itself. Another counselor sneered. You turned a human. Ariella stepped forward. I chose this. Gasps echoed. Vesperians didn't address the council, especially not new ones. The elder's eyes narrowed. You speak boldly. I speak truth, Ariella replied. Murmurs spread. Another counselor spoke sharply. You're growing too strong, Kale. Your influence is spreading into human territories. Kale's voice was calm. We don't hide in shadows forever. Ariella stepped beside him. And if you do, women keep dying in the dark because no one helps them. Your secrecy doesn't save lives. The council stiffened. Ariella continued. Your fear of change is hurting both worlds. Humans bleed. Vesperians fight among themselves. But we can choose differently. Silence. Then the eldest counselor asked, "And what do you propose, little queen?" Ariella held her head high. "I propose unity, protection, balance. A new system that helps the innocent instead of ignoring them." "Impossible," someone hissed. Kale stepped beside her. "Not with us leading." Ariella glanced at him. That word changed everything. The council argued. Voices rose. Shadows trembled. At last the eldest spoke. "Very well. We will allow her to stand with you." His eyes hardened. "But if she becomes a danger?" Kale's voice sliced the air. "Then I will answer for her." Ariella squeezed his hand. The council dismissed them. But the world outside the chamber had already changed. Ariella wasn't just Kale's chosen anymore. She was Vesperian royalty. Symbol. A nightmare to their enemies. Hope to humans. She was queen. Years passed, but Ariella didn't age. Her hair remained dark and soft. Her skin stayed smooth and cool. Her eyes glowed with the quiet fire of immortality. But the biggest change wasn't physical. It was the world around her. The network grows. Ariella built the largest underground network of safe houses the city had ever seen. Hidden sanctuaries watched over by Vesperians loyal to Kale. Women whispered her name like a myth. The Night Queen. The Shadow Angel. The one who comes when you text a wrong number. She didn't do it for the praise. She did it for the girl she used to be. A midnight message. One night, as she sat beside Kale on the balcony, a soft vibration buzzed in her pocket. Ariella frowned. Strange. No one should be messaging me this late. Kale's lips curved. That's how it always begins. Ariella opened the message. Her heart froze. I'm scared. Please help me. The same words she had once sent. Kale turned to her. Where? Ariella listened. Feeling for fear, pain, desperation. She felt it, faint but clear, somewhere on the city's west side. A small tremor of emotion ran through her. This girl, Ariella whispered. She's like I was. Kale stood, eyes glowing. Then we go. Ariella rose, cloak falling around her shoulders like flowing shadows. She smiled softly. I never thought I'd become the one who answers the text. Kale's voice warmed. You became more than that. They stepped onto the balcony. Ariella extended her hand. Kale took it without hesitation. And together, the king and queen of the Vesperians leapt into the night, vanishing into the darkness to save a life. Just as a wrong number had once saved hers. If you enjoyed this story and you want more episodes like this, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button so this story reaches more people. Tap subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. And turn on that notification bell because the next twist is coming sooner than you think. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done if you texted the wrong number? And the Vampire King answered. Your comments help me shape the next stories, so don't be shy. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the message you send by mistake is the one that changes everything.